The Seahawks have hurt me once again, losing 17-16 to the Rams, being swept by them throughout the season. We were up 13-0, and we just could not hold that lead. The Rams got a field goal in the last 2 or so minutes, and because our offensive coordinator did not give a play to Geno, he called the play to run the ball when it should have been thrown before we should have tried to get into field goal range. It's almost poetic. When we should run the ball, we throw it. When we should throw the ball, we run it. Super Bowl flashbacks. See how you can't keep doing this. But it's the first of the 5-game stretch, and it was supposed to be it's supposed to be the easiest of them. So now I really don't see us winning any of those next 4 games. But week 11, I went 9-5, surprisingly. I got quite a few right. I think the ones I got wrong were Ravens, Browns, Packers, Broncos, Giants. The rest I got right. I nearly got the Bears wrong. I nearly got the Cardinals wrong. Nearly got the Vikings right. Nearly got Chargers right. Nearly got Seahawks wrong. I didn't want to be right about the Rams, but I was, unfortunately. Anyways, gotta scoot the pain over and move on to this week, where the first game, because it's Thanksgiving this week, both of these are on Thursday afternoon and evening. First game is the Packers at the Lions. And I think this is already my upset of the week. The Lions have been slacking in the past few games. Goff hasn't been playing that well since the Lions got smacked by the Ravens. He didn't have a great game against the Raiders. He won. The Lions barely beat the Chargers. They barely beat the Bears. They've not been playing their best recently. And I think that's going to show in this game. I'm going to go Packers. I think Packers are going to get their revenge against the Lions this week. I don't have much confidence in it, but already, this is going to be my upset of the week. I'm actually excited to see how that plays out, because Packers played pretty well against the Chargers, but the Chargers offense still nearly won them the game. Just, they dropped off at the end. The next game is the Commanders at the Cowboys. This one's kind of a no-brainer. I'm going with the Cowboys. This one is going to be a safe pick, I think. Obviously, anything can happen in a divisional game. And I just realized that the first 4 games of the week are divisional. Most of the games this week are divisional, actually. There's what? 5 that aren't? Bears, Eagles, Panthers, Titans, Bucks, Colts, Pats, Giants, Ravens, Chargers, Browns, Broncos. Wow. So that's what, 10 divisional matchups. And all the games from Thursday till Friday is a divisional matchup. That's interesting. So they're there's going to be a lot of games that are difficult to tell because of divisional matchups. They're a lot more competitive. But I'm going to go Cowboys. They got the home field advantage. I'm pretty sure they do pretty well on Thanksgiving anyway. And Washington has not been playing their best recently. They've got swept by the Giants. 2 of the Giants' 3 wins are against the Commanders. And was it just the week before that Sam Howell had the highest passing yards? Yeah. And they lost to Tommy DeVito. So I'm gonna go Dallas. The next game, I do not want to watch this. It's the 49ers at the Seahawks. I'm picking the 49ers. I was hoping they'd lose against the Bucks, but obviously not. The 49ers look like they were at the start of the season again. I'm hoping that momentum will peter out heavily, but I don't see the 49ers not winning the division, and especially I don't see them losing to us at all this season, honestly. I reckon they'll sweep us. So I'm going to go 49ers. The Seahawks, the offense is just not doing its job. The defense is decent, but it seems like it's slipping a little bit. But overall, the defense, it should be fine. It's the offense that needs to get going, and we need to draft a quarterback. Because Drew Lock isn't the answer, and honestly, he was kind of our last hope because we can't trust Geno. Just because Geno is better doesn't mean he's the answer. The next game, moving over to the AFC, is Friday evening, for some reason, Dolphins at the Jets. I think this could be a trap game for the Dolphins, and the Jets could take a win there. But I am going to pick the Dolphins. They haven't lost to a team with a losing record this season. I know that doesn't really mean much, especially considering they nearly beat the Chiefs so they would have broken the curse of only beating teams with a losing record and always beating teams with a losing record. They nearly beat the Chiefs. They got a bit unlucky with penalties against the Eagles. And the Bills just kind of smoked them because the Dolphins got away from what they were doing in the first half. But I think this should be fine for them. The Jets are starting Tim Boyle as their quarterback. No idea how that's going to go. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going Dolphins. The next game, another divisional matchup. The Steelers at the Bengals. The Bengals now have an injured quarterback. Joe Burrow is out for the season. It's very unfortunate. Looking on the fortunate spectrum, the Steelers fired Matt Canada. So if their offense can actually start picking it up and actually start putting points up, I think the defense will do enough for the Bengals, who don't have Joe Burrow, to not be able to do too much. I know they still have their great receivers and their running back, but what good are receivers if you don't have a good quarterback? I don't know who the Bengals quarterback is going to be against the Steelers. And maybe the Steelers offense can start picking it up again. Jalen Warren looked really good for the Steelers last week against the Browns as a running back. I'm going to pick the Steelers. Their defense is pretty good. Their running game is getting better. And they fired Matt Canada. So, obviously the Bengals could win, but all signs point to Pittsburgh winning this one. The next game is the Jaguars at the Texans. This one I think is going to be another upset of mine. I'm going to go Texans. I would pick Jags if I could trust their O-line. Because their O-line was pretty good against the Titans, and they destroyed them. Was it 34-14? And the Texans nearly lost to the Cardinals. But Tank Dell is incredible. If Stroud can get back to his normal performance and not throw 3 interceptions like he did against the Cardinals. He had 2 interceptions the whole season going into that game, and he had 3 against them. But if he can get back to his form before playing Arizona, I think the Texans could be really strong. The defense played pretty well against Arizona as well. And that's saying something, especially considering Arizona was coming off a win, which was with Kyler Murray's first game back. So they had a lot of momentum, and Texans just about managed to stop that. And I reckon they'll be able to pick it up against Jacksonville. I reckon it will be a close game, though, but an entertaining one. Honestly, this should be televised. I think this is going to be an underratedly good game. The next game, oh god, it's the Patriots at the Giants. I don't want to talk about this one too long because they're both boring as hell. Patriots are coming off a bye week, but they've still got Mac Jones. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up starting someone else as their quarterback, because Mac is not the guy. Giants are coming off a win, so they've got some momentum there. So they're at home as well. I'm gonna pick the Giants, but I don't know which way this is gonna go, and to be honest, I don't care which way this is gonna go, because this is like possibly the most boring matchup you could have. I know there's a whole history with the Patriots and the Giants. Like Tom Brady's weakness was the Giants and Eli Manning. But you look at it now and you just fall asleep thinking about it. Although to be fair, can it be worse than the Patriots Colts game? 10-6 Colts. Oh god. I don't think that would be a good game at all. But who knows. Speaking of the Colts, the next game is Buccaneers at the Colts. I'm going Buccaneers. They didn't actually look too bad against the 49ers. You know, they started racking up some more points. They didn't get completely blown out, but they did lose by 2 scores. You know, I still trust Baker Mayfield. I think the Bucs offense can get something going. What's his name? Rashid White? Is that his name? The running back for Bucs? I think he's doing pretty well as well. He's pretty underrated. The defense isn't too bad either. I still think they have contentions in winning the division. Meanwhile, the Colts, coming off a bye week, they still got Jonathan Taylor. Gardner Minshew still leading the offense, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Bucs will walk out of Indianapolis with a win. Next game is the Panthers at the Titans. I don't know which one I'd rather not watch more, Patriots Giants or Panthers Titans. Honestly, probably Patriots Giants. I mean, Will Levis is at least somewhat entertaining to watch, and so is DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry. You know, the Panthers, oh god, they're in shambles at the moment. I think their head coach said that he was gonna start calling the plays, and against Dallas, 33-10. Yeah, that didn't go so well for them. So I'm picking the Titans, but to be honest, that could be a trap game. Carolina could win that. I'm not expecting them to, but they could. The next game, this could be entertaining. The Saints at the Falcons. Both teams coming off a bye week. And both are in a division where all teams are struggling. I actually have no idea who I'm going to pick here. Derek Carr might still be in concussion protocol. But Falcons are starting Desmond Ridder. If they use Bijan Robinson more, then I think they could actually rip up the Saints defense. And the Saints have a pretty good defense, so that's saying something. But I still have no idea who to pick. I don't know what's going on with the Saints receivers, because there's like prison stuff going on with Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. I have no idea what's going on over there in New Orleans. But even if they do have both Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, I am actually going to pick the Falcons. I think they're going to get an upset here. I've got quite a few upsets this week. I'm going to pick Atlanta. They're at home. I know they're starting Desmond Ridder, but if they use Bijan Robinson right, then I think they should be able to get the win there. The next game is the Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos. The Browns coming off another divisional win, this time against Pittsburgh. So they've played 5 divisional games already, and it wasn't really a competitive one, but it was a close game. Myles Garrett is obviously insane, and with a rookie quarterback, they somehow managed to beat the Steelers' defense. I think the Browns' defense is slightly better, but still. Meanwhile, the Broncos are on a hot streak at the moment, winning their last 3 games against the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Vikings. And none of those are bad teams. They're all fairly solid. And the Broncos have managed to win all of them, which is very strange. I don't know if their streak is going to continue though, because I'm picking the Browns. I think it feels weird seeing the Browns at 8-3, but this one is so difficult to decide. I might as well just do a coin flip for it. I'm gonna go Cleveland. It could go either way. The next game is the Rams, god damn you, and the Cardinals. We all know what the Rams did, or at least Seattle fans and LA Rams fans know what they did. Cooper Kupp is, I think, somewhat injured. I think his ankle got injured. I don't know if he'll be playing against Arizona. And Arizona looked pretty competitive against the Texans, who are a damn good team this season. Not to mention that they look competitive with Kyler Murray back, as even more competitive, I should say. And in Arizona, I'm gonna take the Cardinals for an upset here. I told you, I've got quite a few upsets this week. Got Packers, Falcons, Texans, Cardinals. I'm going with the Cardinals. I wouldn't be too surprised if the Rams win, but they look unstable. The Cardinals look like they can have something going. They could start putting together some wins. I know it's too late in the season for them to get in the playoffs, especially considering they're 2-9. This would put them at 3-9. They can't get in the playoffs pretty much. But maybe they could even finish above the Rams at the end of the season. Wouldn't be surprised if that happened. The Rams don't look stable enough. The Cardinals are looking competitive, and I think that's what's going to give them the edge. The next game is the Chiefs at the Raiders. The Chiefs lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl rematch, 21-17, and the Chiefs really need some receivers. Pacheco, though, is pretty good. Mahomes is still kind of doing his thing. Kelsey's doing alright. Meanwhile, the Raiders, they lost against the Dolphins, but they looked competitive. They're not completely out of it. And I really want to pick the Raiders. I really do. But I just don't see the Chiefs losing 2 in a row. Especially considering they probably have the refs' help. And I don't know. Divisional games, the Chiefs tend not to lose. I know they lost to the Broncos earlier in the season, but the Broncos needed that. Otherwise they would have lost 16 in a row instead? Yeah, that'd be wild. But I'm gonna go with the Chiefs here. I'll put my trust in them this time. But the Raiders could get an upset. There's a lot of potential upset picks this week. But I'm gonna pass on the Raiders this time. The next game is the Bills at the Eagles. The Bills, after firing their offensive coordinator, wrecked the New York Jets. Was it 32-6? So their offense could be back in business and potentially in a very solid state. If that's the case, they'll still be contending for their division and possibly even winning it. Meanwhile, the Eagles got their revenge against the Chiefs, but I guarantee you it's not enough for them. They're trying to go to the Super Bowl and even win it again. So they're 9-1 at the moment, and it's in Philadelphia. I trust the Eagles more, especially their defense. So I'm gonna pick the safe option here and pick Eagles. But I wouldn't completely argue against you if you went Bills. See, if I went Raiders and Bills as well, that's another 2 massive upsets. That's nearly half the games as upsets in themselves. But no, I'm going to stick with the Eagles and see them at 10-1 probably. Sunday night, the Ravens at the Chargers. Now, this is one I was pondering quite a bit as well, because I really want to pick the Chargers for an upset, just because I think it could be a trap game for the Ravens. But I just don't, because the Chargers aren't doing anything about Brandon Staley. And because they're not making any changes to their coaching staff, I have to go with the Ravens. The Chargers just aren't put together. Like, they've got a great offense if their receivers weren't dropping the ball all the time. But their defense just can't handle anything. Brandon Staley is supposed to be a defensive mastermind, but what's he done? It's not working out for the Chargers at the moment, and I think they'll end up dropping to 4-7 with a loss against Baltimore. The final game on Monday night is the Bears at the Vikings. Another one where I really want to pick the upset. But considering now I'm not picking Bears, I'm picking the Vikings. Josh Dobbs is still pretty good. I know they lost to the Broncos. I don't actually know if Justin Jefferson played in that game. But if he did, then it's kind of a curse, isn't it? That the win streak ends as soon as Jefferson gets back. But no, the Pastronaut, he's doing pretty well. Josh Dobbs is very underrated, but he's getting the recognition he deserves. Jordan Addison is really good. I think their run game could improve slightly. And apparently, because of last week, I guess their defense somehow, even though it was doing pretty well, they took a tough loss to the Broncos, but I reckon they'll bounce back against the Bears. But I think the Bears will make it competitive. So I don't think this is a completely horrible primetime game. I think it can be somewhat entertaining considering the Bears nearly beat the Lions. But I guess this week we'll see whether it's because the Bears are actually starting to look decent again, or if the Lions have been slacking. I think the Lions have been slacking a bit, so I'm picking Vikings. And that's going to do it for this week in the predictions. Hope you all enjoyed. Hopefully the Niners don't win. Go Hawks, and until next time, goodbye and have a nice day.